Why is climate and climate change important to nuclear safety? So hurricanes, tornadoes, and other high wind events like derechos, flooding and losses of offsite power are significant contributors to nuclear power plant risk and safety. One thing that's a little unique about flooding events is for most events, if the wind speeds, if the plant's designed for, say, 130-mile-an-hour wind speeds, and they have an event where it's 135, well, that stresses the components a little bit more. But there's probably some margin, and you're probably okay because it's just an incremental increase in the stresses on the plant. But with flooding, you often run into cliff edge effects, and what they are is, if you have a flood wall that's 10 foot tall and you think you're only going to get flooding to 8 foot, you got 2 foot of margin. But if you get 10 foot and an inch, the water goes over the wall, and now you can have significantly different impacts from just a 1-inch change in flood heights. And that's a cliff edge effect. And of course, flooding can be a serious risk, and you have to take those cliff edge effects into consideration. Losses of offsite power are dominant contributors to most nuclear power plants. And so, the plant during normal operations is running, it's generating electricity, and it's putting it out on the grid. But when things go wrong, the first source of power for the plant to run equipment that's needed to deal with the event is offsite power. And now every plant is required and has a backup source of emergency power, typically emergency diesel generators. But your first source of power, the first place you want to go to is offsite power, because it's big, it's vast, and there are lots of power plants on that grid that can supply it. But when you get these external events, either high winds or flooding, they can disrupt offsite power. So when we do our risk analysis for most plants, offsite power, loss of offsite power is a big risk to the plant safety. So sometimes I talk about external events. Sometimes I'll talk about weather-related events. They're kind of sort of interchangeable, but external events or weather events, climate events are one subset of external events. What does climate change have to do with that? Well, climate change is increasing the frequency of events and also increases the severity of events. So the federal government is actually exploring creating a new category of hurricanes that I think they're calling Category 6, which is even bigger hurricanes with higher wind speeds. And that's due to they're thinking about that because of climate change. So that's a severity, an example of the severity increasing. Another example would be, if the biggest rainstorm that anybody predicts is X, well, climate change says you might get more rain, and then you get 2X. Probably not twice as much water, but maybe 10%, maybe 20%, maybe 50% more water. And so that's where the severity of the events can go up. And of course, you can also have an increase in frequency. You can see them happening more often. So both of these go into the safety analysis or the risk analysis, and they can stress the safety of the plant and raise the risks from the nuclear power plant.